Hey there, in today's video, I am just showing you a very simple way to get started making art when you are just feeling like you just don't know how to get started. It is using text, simple capital letters, some good old-fashioned cursive, maybe some exaggerated cursive, and on different colored papers that you've painted. And you can use any colors you want. And then just using India ink and a round brush. So I hope you give it a try because it is super easy and it's fast and it's a great way to just get started. To get started, I'm going to use a book journal that I have made, and I have just put a light coating of white paint on it. You can still see the text through it, but for the sake of example, and this is something I would actually work in because I like other, I like the text coming through. And I'm just going to use the Speedball India ink, and I grabbed a number of these round brushes. So they have a nice tip that will flow with the paint, and I have different sizes. And I might start, because this is a little bit bigger and I'm going to work on both pages, I might start with this bigger one. This number 4 here. Number 2 maybe. Maybe I'll do the number 2. So, all right, let's get started. So I'm going to just write out on a quote. This is a very easy thing that you can do at any point, and it's kind of fun to see what you like in terms of your text. So I'm going to start by just making block text, and by this I mean caps. There, and I'm holding back because I don't want it to be perfect. And in fact, I could do it with my other hand, which I will show you later. And I'm going to put all the text close together. There is no right, and I'm going to start it there, right way. Okay, so now you see what I'm doing. I'm going to just continue to complete this side of the page in fast forward. So the quote is, there is no right way to make art. The only wrong is in not trying, not doing. Don't put barriers up that aren't there. Just get to work and make something. Obviously, and make something didn't work. And this is by someone, L. Go Lightly, which I found on Pinterest. So I could continue on this vein, but I wanted to show you. So that's just working with all capital letters. Now this, you could do the same thing with, on the other side, I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it, oops. And as I do this, I actually don't mind. And as you saw over here, it doesn't matter. So I'm going to fast forward again. I'm just going to do it in large text. There'll be much less of it that will fit because I'm going to try and exaggerate and do it in cursive. So you can see, I just kind of, I'm trying to not form my letters correctly. I'm just showing you a couple different ways that you can either create a background. This could also be done on something that, thin paper that you then use as collage, or just lots of different ways. I just like the idea of text, and I like it both in caps and I like it in the exaggerated cursive. And you can even compress it, and I think it's called scrivito, when you are making it look like text, but it's actually not. There's not any actual words to it. So I wanted to show it to you on white. Obviously, there's the book text is coming through, but I also wanted to show you what it looks like on other colors so that you might consider doing it on a page where you don't know how to get started, but this is a simple tool to use. And particularly if the background is light enough, you can do it on just about any color. For this one, I'm going to use the number 4 round. It's a little bit thicker on the tip, so I'm going to get thicker lettering here. And I am going to attempt to use, I'm going to actually move this on the other side. I'm going to use my left hand because that has a unique result. And it's, honestly, it's pretty tricky because it's hard to know how that's going to turn out. But the point is, it doesn't really matter. It just gives you a different look. Now, I want you to also note this kind of yellow ochre was painted over the top of something, which is typical for me. And you can see some of the other coloring underneath. And I kind of like that. It's building layers, and this text can just be one more layer depending on how you use it. So I'll speed it up and we'll get started. Okay, as you can see, it was a much slower process and I have less control, but it leaves a very unique text. Because I can't control it, I think it's kind of a fun result. And from here, I can do a lot of different things. So I'm going to bring out the next art journal and I'll show you a different way. And this quote was, I don't know if you could read it while I was doing it. Art enables us to find ourselves and lose ourselves at the same time. For this one, I'm using, I think it's a number 2. Yeah, a number 2 round. And I'm going to do the block, the cap letters again for this quote. But at the end, I'm going to use my colorless wedge and I'm going to scrape down with, to kind of to smear it a little bit. So, which I think leaves kind of a cool effect. So let's get started. This quote is, you can't use up creativity. The more you use, the more you have. And it's by Maya Angelou. And then I wrote at the bottom, so now is the time to make art, because it didn't fill the whole page. I do think that this was a little wetter than I'd hoped. I'd hoped to kind of smear it more like this lettering up here. But again, it's part of the process. And I do like that then it's kind of smeared out and there's no preciousness about it. And so the next thing I can do is add some different colors and some different paints and get started. It's a great way. It's a great background. It's a great way to get started. And for this last one, I am using wow, I can't even see what it says. It's a liner actually. So it's not a round. And I think this actually might work better, and probably had I had more of these, because I can see from the tip that it will probably lend itself better to writing, but we'll see what happens. So in general, just practice with the brushes that you have, see what you like. Honestly, it would be cool, and maybe I should even do it with a brush like this, just like a small flat, because you could get better block letters, I honestly think, than what I was using that. I should have probably used this brush for the all caps that I did. So try both, but I think the flat would probably work better in the future. For this one, I'm going to do just script that you can't read, just to show you kind of how it looks and I might use words that are words, but I'm going to try to do it in a way so that you can't read it. This is kind of more the sgraffito, where there's not really words. Sometimes I would think words, but for the most part, it was just to get the flow and the image of text down. And it also makes a really cool background. Now, of course, on each one of these, I am working, not only am I working on top of a color, except for the first one where it was white, but there's also, this has some collage underneath of it, some other things. So you're building up layers and texture, and you can see through, depending on what kind of paint, how transparent it is. But then it just lends itself to the next thing that you want to do and the next thing you want to add over the top of that. So, and like I said, you can always go in and smear it if you want. So like this is a smear, in my opinion, than the massive smear that I did. But then you can add different layers of paint, and it may end up all being covered up. But the beautiful thing is it's a way to get started, and it's super easy. And it's just a matter of taking your page and starting to write. And sometimes a favorite quote or some words or just your own personal ideas can get you started in a way that you can't otherwise begin, because sometimes there's just that block where you just feel like, I can't do anything. But what can I do? I can write a quote out. That's easy enough to do. And if I want to keep taking it to the next level, then I just add on top of that and keep going. Or in and of itself, it's fine. Like, you can have it just be something like this. It's okay. And that was my left-handed one. So I would just encourage you, when you are maybe having a hard time getting started, or even if you're not, I actually really like this. I like this exercise because it's just a fun way to create backgrounds and also just to get me going and motivated. And I hope you've enjoyed this, and I appreciate you watching, and I will see you next time.